why a coffee producer decide to keep producing coffee when he can just like abandon the land and distribute the land for tourism, for example. It's
Mm-hmm.
opportunities that happen when the economy is open and the opportunity. A lot of people decide to produce coffee because it's what they know how to do and they want to do it. Is the same that cacao, in my opinion, specialty cacao can provoke again this. I'm, I'm, I'm proud of produce cacao and I love to produce cacao, and produce cacao is great, and I enjoy to work my land, to work my farm. I feel proud to be a farmer.
On June 9 and 10 this year, our live online workshop, Biochar for Farming, is happening in English and Spanish with returning specialist professors Angela Barrero and Morillo Bettarello. Tickets are $10 for farmers and $100 for everybody else, which includes 9 pay-it-forward tickets for farmers who can't pay the ticket price. Head to mapperforward.coffee/workshops or check the show notes for links. Welcome to the Daily Coffee Pro by Map It Forward, friends. I'm your host, Lee Safar, and this is episode 4 of a really great 5-part series with Cesar, the Director of Cacao at Belco. We are talking about the cacao industry in 2025, and we have been discussing in the last episode what specialty cacao is. And I think where we arrived was that we don't really know what specialty cacao is, do we, Cesar?
I mean, I define it. I define it what it is, but I don't think you can say one concept for specialty cacao.
Right. There's no actual definition. Just like in specialty coffee, there's no actual definition of what it means that everyone benchmarks against.
Which is correct, in my opinion. Like we need to, it's not a rug, we need to resonate. It's a special products.
And, something I wanted to ask you is, do you think that the concept of specialty cacao is something that is really at its infancy? Or do you think that it is something that has gone as far as it could go?
I don't know if I understand your question. Can you?
So specialty coffee has been around for 30 years, right?
Yeah.
And we still can't fucking define it.
Yeah.
It seems like every year somebody decides that, no, we're changing it from being, an 80-point coffee. It's now an 84-point coffee. And now we're going to decide that it's not going to be about the cup score. It's going to be about something else. So there's this over 30 years, the definition of it has continued to change. All that time, the consumer has been starting to realize that there's something different, right? There's these artisan coffee shops, and then there's the chains. Yeah. So the consumer is starting to understand that they have been for a few years now, but they're understanding that there's a difference. While we as an industry would say, no, specialty coffee is well defined, the consumer is not really there yet. There's a gap between where the consumer's arriving at with the understanding of specialty coffee and what the industry is arriving at. My question to you is, where is cacao in that process?
I mean, cacao, as far as I understand, it jumped a lot. Maybe I'm wrong, but look like coffee has this slow movement,
right,
to
progress,
form what is coffee today. And cacao, it wasn't in Europe, then it was in Europe, like I'm talking from Europe. So this is what it taught me right now. And then when it was here, it was industrialized in quite a record time. And it went everywhere in the world. So we needed to plant it in Africa, everywhere it's there. And what is happening right now, and this is very similar to coffee, in my opinion, that we are talking about consumers, meaning that there is a group of people interested for something, right? And the way to make people interested for something, sometimes it's clear, sometimes it's not very clear. But what is true is the people at this side of the world is people who can pay that healthy product, delicious product, that exclusive product, that hipster product, that
Specialty.
fashion product, is special thing. And that doesn't represent what the spirit of specialty coffee is, or should
Right.
be, in my opinion. Then it becomes very elitist. And this is the jump that cacao did. It's expensive. You compare with other or not, but yeah, it can be. And often it is, like, the difference of price is important. But the big thing and the big challenge that we have to have right now is, like, educate ourselves in the way that we consume. This is the most interesting thing. Not the how much money I have to spend, is more like how I spend my money, right? It's good to have money, especially when we learn how to use it. And a chocolate bar, if we put that chocolate bar or the chocolate drink, if we put it there in a specialty cacao or a specialty chocolate, it shouldn't be conceived, as far as I believe, it shouldn't be conceived as, I need to buy this thing and I need to consume this thing, and this is the thing, and the thing, because you see it right now. For example, it's just Eastern, what just passed, and everybody's buying cacao because this belief of, and you become a slave of consumption,
of marketing.
and it's good for my business. I love it. Everybody's consuming cacao. Great, I got it. But in an ideal world, it will be better that people understand how healthy cacao can be and how good it is to consume in a specific dose. And that specific dose, it is a very high quality food, and it's a very high quality element to have in your life as a habit, like a drink of coffee, like eating a little piece of chocolate. That's going to make me feel alive. It's going to make me feel happy. It's good for my veins, it's good for my skin. It's good for everything when I'm consuming. But if I'm jumping, and then you remember in a different conversation, we talk about Feastables, for example. And this is very interesting. I don't know if you want to open this subject, but just
yes, please.
Slightly open.
So just so that people know, Feastables is Mr. Beast's chocolate brand. And it is his main revenue generating source now for his entire business. He makes more money out of chocolate, Feastables, than he makes from any other revenue stream that he's got. So Cesar and I were talking about this yesterday in a WhatsApp chat about what the implications of Mr. Beast being in cacao is having to the industry. So go ahead, Cesar.
So, hey, everybody, please don't jump and Google or ask EI what is Feastable. No, do it. It's very interesting story. And I don't know if we are making publicity for Feastable and how good or bad is that. But however, what is super interesting is
it's interesting at the least.
I'm not a specialist of this guy, but this guy is a YouTuber, right? Is his base.
Yeah.
This YouTuber understood, not for the cacao. Cacao is just something that he used, but he understood that he need this type of product for this type of group of people, meaning the consumer, right? And for this, he used his image, his possibilities, which is YouTube in this case, and he make a massive business of millions of dollars. As far as I read, like in the surface, it's like, I think more than $150 million per year. And he started in 2022. I mean, it's like crazy.
Wild.
Yeah, wild. And when I'm telling you, he's making people believe, is because how I discovered I'm talking about a personal story and not a professional story. It's the first time and the second time. In both cases, it was one of my family kids and one of my friends' kids who told both to their parents, these are the best chocolate in the world. To a person like me who works in a specialty cacao, a friend of mine telling me, in the gas station of a very lost area in El Salvador, that is the best chocolate in the world. It marked me. you know. So of course
I can imagine.
I went to Google. First thing, I buy one. I read the ingredients. I went to Google. I want to discover how this guy made it, and it's fascinating. I mean, it's like what is the name of this act? I mean, it's like to use Brad Pitt or to use the other
Oh, yeah.
actor,
George Clooney.
to George Clooney, exactly. It's to sell coffee. This guy is using himself. He's using his own thing to sell his own product that he make. He doesn't make the chocolate. Somebody else make. Like. But he understood. He must have a big machine in his back of marketing, of consultant.
Yeah.
He has the group of people. He may not like chocolate. I don't know. He doesn't understand. He don't care maybe, or he cares. Who knows? But the business is there. This guy discovered, okay, I'm going to make business and I'm going to make it in cacao, and the whole concept of the thing has cacao. For me, is one of the most fascinating stories of the last 5 years, if I can tell you. Not the most fascinating because you are talking about the mainstream of the thing. And it's, again, it's volatile, and this business company, tomorrow it can be beer, it can be whiskey, it can be bricks,
Totally.
it can be plastic, it can be nothing. There is a machine producing money. I hope they are using it well. I understand that the guy is super exotic and he built houses and again, I'm not a specialist, but I know there is something behind.
But you're leaving out one of the most interesting parts of this story.
Yeah.
Talk about the fair trade situation.
The Fairtrade situation, okay. I'm been working with people who was part of Fairtrade. So, and my personal background is like, I just don't need a certification as a producer.
Yeah.
I'm not talking about me working and dealing with this company. Belco is amazing. And of course, I deal with certification. But me as a producer going out of Belco, I don't feel I need it. It's not my thing. I think I can manage to go, and because I believe in myself, But I know that not everybody has this capacity to believe in themselves. So when you see coffee or cacao, and why we are doing things and who is consuming the thing, it's like you need a filter. So certifications are, in my opinion, filters who can open business for one side of the equation, meaning like you are a big chocolate maker and you work with organic certificate or small producers or fair trade or this and that. There is a political interest and an economical interest in the situation. It's not because some people, yes, but it's not because you want to pay better the producers. You just want to feel when you're making money, and you want to be safe also.
Well, and this is what was so interesting about Mr. Beast, right? Because Mr. Beast came out and he used it as a marketing mechanism. Did you see what he did with Fairtrade?
No,
right?
No, I'm not sure. I'm not sure if all of his cacao is Fairtrade.
Well, so he came out recently, like maybe less than a month ago.
Okay.
And he made a commitment that 100% of the cacao that is in Feastables is certified fair trade.
Okay. Interesting.
So interesting, right?
Yeah.
Like, as you're talking about, these certifications can be a way to feel safe.
Yeah.
In a year where all the media is talking about the volatility behind cacao and the price of chocolate is going to go up.
Yeah.
Mr. Beast goes to Fairtrade to create safety
in
marketing and makes a big, big, big deal about it. It was everywhere.
Yeah.
Right? It's now a currency that has fucking nothing to do with the cacao producer, but everything now to do with the consuming end of the market. Who knows if the cacao is actually fair trade? Who knows if the producer's getting any extra money?
I mean,
but this is now a commodity for him,
right?
Right?
You mean as the concept of certification?
No, the certification.
I think it is fair trade. That I believe it is fair trade. I think will be not
Come
smart.
on now.
I think will be not smart from a company like this because they can buy it. You pay for
Yeah,
it,
exactly.
it's something,
You pay for it.
it's another value. So that will be not a smart move. And there is so many people involved into, there is controls and there is stuff. So I will be sure. I put my hands on fire for Mr. Beast. What a mistake, right?
Oh, wow.
But
I never thought I would see the day.
yeah, but what I'm saying at the same time is not because you are into the fair trade system that you are fair trade, and the people from fair
Right.
trade can tell you that. That's for me the
100%.
interesting thing, because a lot of the big business in chocolate is the best deal in the world to work with fair trade thing. Also because, as far as I understand, fair trade, the producer pay, even if it's a non-profit organization. For example, in this case, Fairtrade. So the producer paid, the transformer paid, and the selling product is, if it's showed that it's fair trade. So I guess Mr.
On
Beast
the contract, right.
must be showing
He
like, hey,
wants the sticker.
yeah, yeah,
Yeah, it says it
and
on the Feastables
and
chocolate bar.
the reality, it's a group of people which is the target from this company buying fair trade. So
Right.
so Mr. Beast is using so it's a win-to-win situation. And again, like now we are talking about two companies, one that is conceived to make a lot of money to use in whatever way they use it, and one that is supposed to be created for non-profit reasons, right? So it's a crazy mix, and that happened all the time. So because everybody using fair trade, for example, or organic, but you know, this thing with organic is super complex because, and then somebody from the certifications should be answering this, but the reality, it's organic doesn't mean sustainable. Organic means a product that is free, that is produced free of pesticides, right? And normally to prove that, it's because they have people in the field proving that. Who is paying for that? Normally it's producers. It's very expensive, it's super complex,
Yeah.
and it's not easy at all. Or NGOs, or governments, or something disconnected from the production. So certifications is a very complex word that, for me, it's a tool, but it's not the place that I want to go. It's not there that it moved me. And again, I'm talking as a producer, not
Yeah.
as a businessman, if you want, or as a
Right.
sourcing company.
So tell me, as a businessman and as the director of Cacao from Belco, what impact does specialty coffee have when and I guess we're saying specialty coffee in inverted commas, when you go from these commercial environments where, let's say, Fairtrade is involved because they're working at the commercial grade, but when you transition to the kind of work that Belco is doing, and folks, for clarity, Mapper Forward and Belco have no financial arrangement. I'm not getting paid anything to have Cesar to talk about this. There's nothing, just for clarity's sake. But I am very interested in the way that Belco approaches business because, like, we've had Angel come on the podcast before and talk about the really interesting sailboat stuff. That's a very interesting way to approach business. It's different and it's pioneering, which says to me that it's a company that's interested in not just what's happening now, but what's going to happen in 20, 30, 40, 50 years from now. So hopefully Alex will come on the podcast and we can talk more about that one day because I'd like to pick his brain on that.
Yeah.
But going back to my question, it sounds like what Belco is trying to do is say, what happens if we introduce specialty coffee into a local economy of producers? What is the impact that has on that local economy?
It's a super complex. So basically what you are asking me is first of all, to define our strategy. Like, what is our strategy to impact this local economy? And
is there a strategy? Like, is it intentional?
Yeah.
Or is it just that there's going to be consumers that are we see that there's a potential for an increase in specialty cacao in the future.
Yeah.
And so because of that, we need to get more specialty cacao produced. And that means that the farmer's going to get paid more money. So
Yeah.
that could be one strategy. But the other option is that, and I suspect that this is more the Belco way, producing specialty cacao creates more sustainability for a local economy.
Yeah, it's going to stay on time. Like we
Right. So
have this idea.
it's
I
going to
mean,
be there.
when,
It's
when,
going to last longer.
when we talk here, that I can tell you,
Mhm.
if we come back to Belco, when we talk here, first of all, we are very clear we are making business. This is a
Yep.
business. So we are creating a business. Second,
Mhm.
when we decide to open the cacao, there is no one reason. One of the reasons is like, hey, we have opportunity, we can make business. Yeah, it's a reason,
Right.
but it's not the only reason. There is passion in the thing. We believe in the thing.
Mhm.
And we also think it's, again, uh, sustainable, like it's going to stay on time.
Inverted commas. Yeah.
So we really need to fight for that sustainability. But it's like, when it's opportunist, it's weak. And at the same time,
Say that again. Sorry.
when
Say that again.
when we take the opportunity, when it's only opportunist, there is an opportunity
Mhm.
here. And of course, it's
Right.
part of the business model. We take the opportunity
Right.
because we love the thing, we see the business, and the opportunity is like, we know that we don't have many players as people think. It's almost no players because what we are doing
Mhm.
is a tiny scale if you compare with
Yeah.
multinationals. It's tiny. This
Mhm.
operation is tiny if you see. Even if we grow 10 times what we are doing now, it is going to be tiny, smaller
Mhm.
than chocolate makers, smaller than Mr. Beast.
Mhm.
So what
Everyone's small than Mr. Beast.
Yeah. So what we are doing now, we are trying to be logical by saying like, we have a passion, we have knowledge, and we can see that it's gonna stay on time. But we have to understand something, and that I connect with music and with other passions. It's like you don't do it and then you just move. Like it's something that it comes to your veins and you stay there
Sacred.
and you fight for. So
Mm.
when you say a producer, and we talk about these producers that maybe they care because they are super conscious that what they are doing is important, that I know
Mm.
some of the producers, or because they do it because they want to eat and they need it to survive, or
Mhm.
or because it's a business plan. There is different types of producers. Whatever is the reason, you don't change your mind from one day to another. To sell your land is a big important step in your life. To paint
Mm.
cultivar, it's like at least 4 years in what you don't have any income and you just putting money away. So we are talking about decisions of life when you move.
Life changing.
Yeah. So what we are doing here right now at this moment in the conversations we are having, for me, it's a life changing experience. Like
Wow.
cacao, you cannot take it for granted. Cacao is very interesting. And maybe I'm going to quit the company, and I leave the company. I'm taking cacao with me, you know, and I'm leaving cacao in Belco,
Alex, you heard it here first.
Yeah, no, no. And I'm not saying about money or volume, about knowledge. If I have life
Yeah.
and I have time, it just
Mm.
mark your life. So this is a specialty, this is a specialty.
Mm.
So this is what we are talking about. Let's do something special. How we do it and what is our strategy, then it becomes a little bit cold and,
Business.
and business if you want. But again, like coming back to a producer, like a producer is not selling land because tomorrow it's coconuts, happens
Right.
here and there, but no, like a producer get involved, it gets responsibility, debts, incomes, history, so knowledge,
Staff.
yeah, and
Yeah.
and then it's the way that a product like cacao should be treated in general. It is not treated like that. That's my view of the situation right now. It's linked to poverty, and because the
Mm.
because the not equal distribution of income, and because this poverty is there, we are eating chocolate today, and we should change that. We have to change that, and it's the same thing with coffee. If people is not motivated to produce coffee, they don't want to produce coffee. Like, the land, coffee lands are so beautiful as cacao lands are.
Mm.
And like, why a coffee producer decide to keep producing coffee when he can just like abandon the land and distribute the land for tourism, for example? It's
Mm-hmm.
opportunities that happen when the economy is open, and the opportunity. A lot of people decide to produce coffee because it's what they know how to do, and they want to do it. Is the same that cacao, in my opinion, specialty cacao, can provoke again. This I'm proud of produce cacao, and I love to produce cacao. And produce cacao is great, and I enjoy to work my land, to work my farm. I feel proud to be a farmer. This proudness to be a farmer. This is a worldwide phenomenon. Like, in some point, like, what is to be a farmer, and do I'm proud of be a farmer? It's- for a young man, when I was growing up,
Yeah.
it's a very egocentric thing that
Uh-huh.
that specialty coffee feed. Like, I'm a farmer and I produce a 90 point coffee, and it's the best coffee, and it's the highest land, and it's the big amount of production, and it shouldn't be like that either. Like,
No, there's a dignity and a pride that comes with feeding the world.
yeah, yeah, to be
My
conscious of
family, well, in Syria, my family are farmers,
that. Okay,
and
of,
it was a
of
big
what?
uh, laws, almonds
Mm-hmm.
and potatoes
Yeah.
and grapes.
Okay.
And so it was a real sense of pride for us
Mm.
to be farmers in a small village, a
Yeah.
very poor village, but it was a big sense of pride for us to be able to produce that. My grandparents felt very proud of it because we were contributing, even though it was a business, we were still contributing to feeding
Yeah.
a population that existed in a desert.
Yeah. Yeah.
There's a sense of richness that comes from it that creates dignity for a family name
Totally.
that unless you've been a part of it, you can't understand it.
I guess. I hope I understand.
No, you understand.
I
I'm
let
talking about
I let that
everybody
to
else who
me.
hasn't been.
I let
You're a
that to
farmer.
myself. Yeah. I'm very proud to be farmer. And I'm
Yeah.
far from my land right now, but I know how it feels. I know that magical state of mind
Yeah.
that is like, I don't care if it's 90 points, this thing is special. And
Yeah.
and I know that when you go to plantations or coffee shops or talk to baristas, you really know when something special is happening there, because it's normally surrounded by specialty people.
Yeah. Yeah. There's something very, and I think that's why our industries are so different than like broccoli,
Mm.
right? Like, no disrespect to broccoli. I always use broccoli
Healthy,
as the
eh?
example. I don't hate broccoli.
You
I
get
love
sick, you
broccoli.
get broccoli.
But I'm just saying, I don't think that there's a convention where a whole bunch of broccoli sellers
Yeah.
get together and have a convention and celebrate this thing that they create.
Mm.
But in coffee and in cacao, there is that kind of thing. So,
Yeah.
yeah. Anyway, it sounds to me a lot like making albums, to be honest with you.
Mm.
There's a synergy
Definitely.
there.
Definitely. It's
Anyway,
you,
go ahead. What were you going
have
to
you
say?
ever heard about ceremonial cacao?
Yeah.
There is a sector.
Big time.
There is people making business. Serious business, and
It's huge money.
I guess I don't know if it's huge money if you compare with traditional cacao. Traditional cacao is huge money. Traditional cacao, traditional chocolate, big, machine making chocolate. That's better business.
Let me tell you.
Yeah,
Let me tell you how huge money it is. I used to live in California,
yeah,
which is like the place that, they're doing ceremonial cacao ceremonies.
yeah,
$200 for
yeah,
to have a cup of ceremonial cacao.
yeah. Absolutely, absolutely agree. It's expensive thing and destinated to a very specific sector. But what I'm telling you this because this is very risky when you do ceremonial cacao. When you open your business about ceremonial cacao, because it can be the most magical thing on earth. I
Yeah.
believe in people doing it because
Yep.
they believe in the thing, or it
Mhm.
can be the fake plus plus.
Yep.
It can be the worst thing.
California.
I don't know, but I guess you have good examples, and you again, you make the difference of like, yeah, you believe in the thing, right? You don't make me believe it's impossible. This is not
Yeah,
connecting with
exactly.
ceremony, and you know, it's a
Back
very
to music.
exactly very powerful concepts surrounding cacao that I found fascinating because it's very modern.
Mm.
This thing of ceremonial cacao is like modern. Like this is not like coming from
It's not ancient?
no.
No?
This is modern. Like this is happening in more in California than in
Yeah,
South
right.
America. And now
The Aztecs did not do this.
yeah, and it's opening business for farmers and great. The whole thing is great. And I don't have anything against. I actually believe in a lot of the people doing ceremonial cacao for specific reasons. But the reality is, as far as I study, cacao is being used in ceremonies, but there is not a cacao ceremony registered
Right.
like 2,000 years ago in what you put yourself and exposed to cacao, only to cacao for 3 days. That I
So
don't.
you can't be a cacao priest?
Yeah, or a guru or something like that. That's
Yeah.
happening. That's happening right now, and nothing
Ah,
against that. Like great is happening right now, but just be informed about the thing. And I know that the people that understand the thing, they understand the history of ceremonial cacao, linking that to the mystic and
yeah.
special areas of cacao, right? Which yes, very important in ceremonies. Uh, Deep root in culture, but it's a different thing than ceremonial cacao. So nice to know. This is a commercial of
Yeah.
the conversation.
It's a commercial of the
Yeah.
conversation. But and again, we end back on something similar to music. We have one episode left to go. And in that episode, we're talking about who the consumers of cacao are and what is the future of cacao. We've clearly touched a little bit on it in this episode when we talked about ceremonial cacao, which is not like if you look at a Kit Kat and you look at ceremonial cacao, clearly very, very different consumers of those two products. So join us for the final episode of this awesome series. Peace, love, and peanut butter. Have an amazing rest of your day. I really hope you enjoyed this episode, friends. Please don't forget to show us some love by subscribing, liking, commenting, and most of all, sharing this podcast with your friends. Check the show notes for links, including our sponsors and our Patreon. And stay tuned for more great conversations on the Daily Coffee Pro by Map It Forward.